There we go. Sorry about that. Little hiccup. I want to make sure it's recording before I go any further. So make sure I didn't mess anything up here. Okay, we're good to go. One of the big three that you hear a lot of people talking about is implants, ortho, and sleep. And it's or sleep, ortho, and implants, called SOI, kind of a play on the acronym of ROI, return on investment. And so if you look at just the mathematics of this process and integrating sleep, ortho, and implants into general dental practice, I mean, it's the return is absolutely substantial. They're very profitable procedures. They're very productive procedures. And the great news is you don't have to really spend a lot of money on marketing to attract these cases. These cases are sitting in your patient base right now. And so, you know, and I'm going to go through some numbers here so you kind of see the impact that's made just from adding dental implants to the practice. But before we jump into that, I wanted to walk you through something that we call the 5 business engines. And essentially what these business engines are, these are the 5 fundamental components, you know, of your dental practice that we need to make sure that we're investing. The 3 things that we can invest, you know, you can invest time, you can invest talent, you can invest treasure. And we want to make sure that we're investing those things in an area that's going to provide us a return. And so by investing your time, talent, and treasure in each of these 5 business engines, what it essentially does is allows us to, you know, over time, fulfill this thing that we call a vision. And hopefully everybody on this call at least has somewhat of a vague vision as to what it is they're trying to create in their practice, whether it is a certain level of personal income, you know, that you're attempting to accomplish, if it's a certain culture, a certain kind of people, a certain kind of patient base, if you're trying to position yourself as kind of a specialist in your practice to where, you know, you're limited on the services that you provide and the days in the practice are limited and you spend more time on the golf course or on the lake, you know, I think that's fantastic. I would definitely encourage everyone, and I do this in my business as well, because my business is not that much different from a dental practice. You know, but if you're the sole provider in your practice and the revenue, and a lot of people have discovered this, you know, with this COVID-19 situation, you know, but if you're the sole provider in your practice, and the only doctor in your practice, and the practice is heavily dependent on your ability to turn a handpiece. But if something happens, if, you know, I've had, you know, female clients who have gotten pregnant, and they were in remote locations and we weren't able to secure associates. You know, doctors who have gotten, you know, male doctors who have gotten ill or had to undergo surgery. And if your practice is solely dependent on your ability to produce, then you're in a pretty significant position of liability. So I think it's important, you know, that we, you know, grow our practice at least to the extent that the practice can operate without us. My business can operate without me. And I think that definitely provides more job security, not just for yourself, but for everybody on your team as well. So we want the business, we want to look at it not so much as, you know, having a job, you know, and if you're the sole provider in the practice, that's a little bit more of a job. It's not really a business. You're not, you know, quite on that CEO level. And so that is the progression that we want to make, because that provides the most protection for us as a professional. It also provides more job security for the teams that we employ and ourselves. It also positions us financially to be more protected, more secure, and able to achieve higher levels of revenue while preserving quality of life. And so in order to do that, these are the 5 business engines that we need to focus on. And so your clinical and technology engine, which we're going to talk a lot about today, what equipment technology do you have in the practice that serves your vision? And this is an important distinction to make here. And that is, you know, what clinical and technology do you have in your practice? And is it consistent with your vision statement? So if your vision is to be cutting edge, to be, you know, top end, high end quality care, you know, advanced, you know, if that's your vision and that's what you're telling patients that you're creating, you know, but you're in a tear down facility and you've got, you know, a red cam milling machine or a blue cam milling machine or omnicam milling machine, that's not really cutting edge anymore. That's not really, you know, on the cusp of the advancements of technology. So we want to make sure that everything that we do in each of these engines is consistent with our vision. if the level of profitability in your business is not quite where it should be, I can almost guarantee you it's because there's an inconsistency between those two things. So a lot of times when I go in and I go in for like an initial assessment or practice evaluation, for a practice, whether I'm doing it because a doctor is engaging me for coaching services, or if I'm doing it because a client of mine is buying another practice and going to merge it in or create a second location, or third or fourth location, this is the number one thing that I look for. Because if for example, if your vision is high end, cutting edge, quality care and all that kind of stuff, but you don't have a website, you don't have a Facebook page, you've got people that are less competent than they really need to be, they're not cross trained, they don't provide the level of customer service, customer service here again with sales and marketing. You don't have the enrollment skills and communication skills to really preserve patient experience and enroll the dentistry that patients need. You don't have financial options, or one of the challenges that I see a lot of times is a fee for service only practice. This is probably the most common example I find. A fee for service practice that has CERAC and has CT, and their fee schedule's in the 40th percentile. You can't survive that way. That practice is unsustainable. And so and I get a lot of different reasons for why that is. Sometimes it's because they're trying to compete with dental insurance fees and that kind of stuff, which I understand, but if your fees are in the 40th percentile, most insurance plans will reimburse up to the 80th. And so if your fees are in the 40th percentile, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And the money that you're leaving on the table could be used to train your people. It could be used to invest in technology or marketing. You're really missing the boat there. So we want to look at each of these 5 business engines and make certain that everything that we're doing in each of those engines are consistent with our vision. And when I talk to these doctors, a lot of times, they're not real clear on what their vision is, which that's the very first thing that we've got to do. We've got to get clear on what that looks like. Or B, they don't know what consistency in each of these 5 engines looks like, because they're just not asking themselves the right questions. And so as a coach, that's one of my responsibilities, is to ask the right questions, identify the opportunities, and make sure that we're making decisions to close the gap between the two. Okay. So why implants? Well, it's estimated that 45% of the population are candidates for dental implants. And if you do the math, 45% is a pretty significant chunk of the population. So if you've got 2,000 active patients, that would be 900 implant cases that are in your existing patient base right now. 900 implant cases in your patient base right now. Based on the industry average for annual patient value, just to give you some context, if you have 2,000 active patients, your practice would be doing about 1.35 million per year, to kind of give you a perspective. So that kind of makes sense to you. The industry average for treatment acceptance is 42%. And these averages are based on about 5,000 practices across the United States that have 500 active patients or more. So they're fairly reasonable sized practices, or bigger, and a sample size of about 5,000 practices across the country. So these estimates are very accurate. To give you some context here, or perspective here, the top 10% of those practices, their treatment acceptance is about 64%. And we've got lots of practices that are in the 70s and the 80s. So the good news is we're not just going to talk about the 5 ways to increase your implant cases today. We're also going to talk about how to increase your treatment acceptance from 42% and get it up into the 60s and the 70s and 80s. The same systems and the same philosophies and processes that I use with my clients all around the Southeast, that my coaches use with their clients, to drastically enhance our treatment acceptance percentage. So it's not so much about numbers of opportunities as it is about being as efficient as possible with each opportunity that's available. So 42% treatment acceptance out of 900 potential implant cases equates to about 378 completed implant cases. So if we do the math here, and these are some very conservative estimates. And you can, if you know your fees, you can kind of use that as a perspective here too. So assuming your fee for a custom abutment and a crown is $1,500, okay, that would be about $567,000 of potential revenue. If your fee for an implant, a custom abutment and crown is $3,000, that would be about $1.134 million of potential revenue. And these are realistic, actualized numbers based on typical average patient base and average treatment acceptance percentage. So I didn't want to inflate these numbers to kind of give you an unrealistic perspective. I wanted to be as conservative as I possibly could, so that you know, if we're looking at 1.34 million, that would more or less be the average. There are many folks on this call that would be generating significantly more than that. Okay, because either you have a bigger patient base, your fees are higher, or you know, you've maybe your treatment acceptance, maybe you're really good at enrolling treatment. Okay, that's between 41 and 84% practice growth. Okay, and so I get this question a lot. You know, we've got practices. Last year, 2019, I had practices that grew, man, anywhere from, I think the lowest was 17%, and I think the highest was like 130%. Now, the one that grew 130%, we bought two other practices and merged it into this practice. But a lot of people ask, you know, because the average rate of growth of an average dental practice is between 2 and 4%. You know, 2 and 4% average rate of growth. You can get 2 or 4% in your IRA. You know, why spend the time that you spend and the effort and the money and the headache and the stress owning and operating a business if you're only going to get 2 to 4%? You know, go work for somebody else where you can generate the same level of income and then make the same investments in your IRA and get rid of the stress. The whole point of owning and operating a business is because you have the potential to generate higher returns and freedom and flexibility. But I would say predominantly you have the ability to generate higher returns on investment. So if I'm going to invest my own time and energy in my business, I want to get a higher return than 2 or 4%. And just based on the average rate of growth, you know, that we see in a lot of our practices, you know, and I'm not saying they grow this because of me. I'm saying they grow this because they make, you know, important, strategic, effective business decisions, like adding implants to their practice or accelerating implants in their practice. They understand that the answer to most of the growth that they want in their practice is not so much what everybody thinks, which is new patients, new patients, new patients. 9 times out of 10, you've got plenty of patients. It's not about new patients. It's about taking care of the patients that you've already got, you know, meeting more of the needs of your existing patient base. And so I get that question a lot, you know, what do they do? What are you doing to grow, you know, 30, 40, 50%? And the answer is sleep, ortho, and implants, and the vast majority of cases. Now, there are a whole list of other things, you know, that we work on, but those are some big ticket items. If you want to know what button you can push to grow your practice 40+% next year, this is one of them. I'm walking you through this math just to show you an example. And some people would look at that and they say, well, John, that's great. My production grew 41 to 84%. That's fantastic, but I didn't make any more money. Well, the good news is implants are very profitable. The average overhead on a dental implant and restoration is about 40%. Now, keep in mind, the implant is a lot more profitable than restoration. Okay, so the overhead on the restoration itself is about 10 to 15% higher than the implant alone. On an implant, you should be getting about 60 to 70% profitability out of an implant case. The restoration has a little bit higher overhead, and so the average between the two is going to be about 40%. Well, the average profit margin in a dental practice the target profit margin in a general dental practice is about 40%. And most specialty practices is closer to 60. So, and if you look at the difference between the two, it's because a lot of the procedures that are done in a specialist practice are more profitable procedures and they have less overhead. And so if you're not knocking on the door of that 40% profit margin and you're a general dentist, you know, dental implants are a great opportunity for you to accelerate your profitability and generate more revenue, more take-home income without necessarily doing a lot more dentistry. And so what a lot of my clients are doing as they get a little older and progress a little bit more in their career is, you know, they're tired of doing all the fillings and extractions and, and all that kind of stuff. And so they want to bring in an associate. The associate does a lot of, the bread and butter, a lot of the crown and bridge, and a lot of those kinds of things. And the owner dentist is positioning themselves a little bit more, on a specialist front. So they're doing more implants, they're doing more sleep, they're doing more ortho, because those things have very limited chair time for the doctor, and they have very big margins. So I'm able to do less and make more. And it makes perfect sense. I mean, you spend $500,000 on an education, another, 500 to $1 million on a practice loan. There's a lot of financial, liability out there and obligations out there. And so at that stage in your career, as you progress, you earn the right to work smarter, not harder, and earn less and earn more and work less. And so if you look at the math there, just based on the math that we've just done, with the average overhead on a dental implant and restoration of about 40%, that's between $340,000 and $680,000 to the bottom line, which is extraordinarily exciting. I mean, that's a big, big impact. So you can imagine, not having implants in your practice at all right now. And I had, 5 or 6 clients go get the education and credentials last year to start placing implants. And this is one of their questions is, all right, so now I'm ready to start placing implants. I've got the CT, I've got the technology, I'm ready to do this thing. How do we get this thing going? And so that's one of the conversations that we're going to have today, is how to do that efficiently and effectively. And so that's a big deal. But you can imagine, I mean, that kind of an impact to a practice, that changes the neighborhood that you live in. That changes the house that you live in. That changes whether you have the second house on the lake. That changes where your kids go to school. That changes whether you're debt free or not. That changes whether you were able to pay your employees for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, because you had the financial reserves set aside, and the cash reserves on hand in order to not only keep the practice protected, which I strongly recommend that be the case before you pay employees their full wage, which, to give you an idea of what that looks like, is about 3 to 6 months of fixed costs setting in your checking account. They are available to cover your fixed liabilities in the event that you don't have income coming in. That's financial protection. If you have that and you have some additional capital on top of that, then by all means, let's make sure that employees make as much as they possibly can during the shutdown. But having that level of revenue driven to the bottom line, that's the difference between the practices that are able to do that and the practices that are not. Because the practices that are not, the average profit margin of the average general dentistry practice in the United States is 27%. And we target 40 in the vast majority of our practices. So that's a big deal. That changes quality of life, that changes financial security, independence, protection, that changes a lot of things. So this is why so many people are so attracted to adding implants to their practice, adding sleep to their practice, adding ortho to their practice. Okay. So to get into this a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and give you the 5 steps in advance, and then we're going to walk through these as we progress through this presentation. The first one is very important, and that is simply to create awareness. We've got to create awareness, not just with our existing patient base, but also with our community. We're going to talk about what that looks like to create awareness. We've also got to educate our patients. So just because they're aware and they know that you place implants and they know what they have an idea of what dental implants are, we need to make sure that they truly understand, why implants are the optimal option, why they are maybe a little bit more expensive, but they're worth the additional money that's invested in them. Digital workflow. So not just educate them on the implant itself, but they also need to understand the technology that you have to help preserve their experience and to help make this process as efficient and comfortable for them as absolutely possible. So I can't stress this one enough. This is extraordinarily important. The ability to do immediate implant placement is probably one of, if not the most important item out of the 5 items that I'm going to share with you. Fourth, we've got to be the solution. So we've got to have the technology. We got to have the system. We've got to have the communication skills, the language skills in order to understand what it is the patient wants, not what they need, because what they need is a lot of times is very different from what they want. People don't necessarily buy what they need, but they will absolutely buy what they want. So how do we communicate this in a way that has them see the value and understand how this particular procedure is going to help them, meet their need for security or meet their need for freedom, and also meet their dental needs, their clinical needs simultaneously. And then lastly is to get the commitment. And this is where a lot of people kind of, we mess up a lot of times is in this enrollment conversation. So these last two pieces are the key here. The last two pieces of the puzzle, that's really an enrollment conversation. It's understanding what people want and giving it to them the way that they want it. And so to give you an idea of how important that particular part of the equation is, not just enrolling them, not just helping them see the value in what it is that you're providing, but also how to handle objections. That's probably the number one biggest thing that gets in a lot of people's ways is patients have objections, and we just, whether it's a financial objection or a time or convenience oriented objection, we just don't have the communication skills and the tools, the tools of influence that allow us to effectively mitigate that objection and navigate that patient through to complete treatment. So we're going to talk about those today as well. Okay, so this is a big one, and this is where I think this is where it all starts. This is the step of creating the first step of creating, or the first part of the step of creating awareness. We've got to have a quality website, and I'm going to walk through each of these things in detail. So I'm not just giving you theory and kind of conceptually what this thing looks like. I'm going to give you the step-by-step nuts and bolts, so you can either do this stuff yourself, or you can hire a third-party marketing company, tell them what you're trying to do, or tell them what you want to do, and that third-party marketing company is going to have the tools and resources available to them to help you capitalize on some of these opportunities. So the first one is the website. We're going to talk about the important components that need to be present on your website in order to capitalize on this opportunity. The second one is social media. Everybody on this call probably knew social media was going to get brought up in this conversation at some point. The social media is extremely important, and I'm going to give you some statistics to show you why it's so important. And then lastly is we've got to have online reviews and video testimonials, and I can't stress video testimonials enough. People would much rather, I guarantee you, everybody on this call could have gone and read 50 articles about how to increase implant placement, implants in their practice, and they chose not to read those articles. They chose to watch a presentation instead, right? And so there's a lot of online CE, a lot of events like this that are currently available. I strongly encourage you to take the opportunity to invest some time in those. But we've got to have online reviews, and we've got to have video testimonials. People will read reviews. I'm not saying they won't, but what's more effective than online reviews, Google reviews and Facebook reviews, is video testimonials. And we're also going to use those to embed in our website. On your website, here are some things that we've got to have. You've got to have your contact information. It needs to be very visible right there on the top of the page. Okay. You need a landing page. So if I click on an ad, or if I click on a link on your Facebook page or on Google or wherever it is, I should not land on your home page where I then have to go click links and navigate to find the information that I'm looking for. I should not land on your home page and then have to go over to services, click on services, scroll down, hit dental implants. I shouldn't have to do that. When I click on that link that says contact us for implants or whatever the ad says, it should take me directly to this page, this landing page that is specifically designed around dental implants. So what this is, it's creating a more efficient process. As a consumer, you're making it easier for me to get the information that I need and to get this process completed as quickly as possible. That's what people want. They want it fast. They want it now. They don't want to delay. And so we're trying to take some of these steps out of the equation. So we've got to have our contact information readily available. It needs to be right there at the top. You absolutely need to have a care credit link on this page. And I'm going to explain why in just a few minutes, but that is an extremely important component. We've got to have a care credit link. So they ought to be able to click right here. It says care credit, or click here for financing, or wherever you want to put it on your landing page. They can click there. They can go in, they can fill out the application, they can get approved and denied in the comfort of their own home, not in front of a person that works in your dental practice. If I get denied in front of somebody else, that's embarrassing. That hurts my feelings. That's uncomfortable. I don't want to run the risk that I do that. If I'm going to get turned down, I want to get turned down while I'm sitting on my couch and nobody knows about it. Okay. And then video testimonials. Again, we need those video testimonials on this page. So right here, I don't necessarily need a lot of educational stuff. You know, you can have a video maybe over here that's, you know, education related. Maybe it's the doctor talking about dental implants, or maybe it's a, you know, an explainer video on dental implants. I also want a link or a video down here that has a video testimonial embedded in it. I may have some before and afters or something like that, like a couple of pictures, side-by-side pictures. But we definitely need to have video testimonials in here. And then I would also tell you that we want to have a survey. So not just a contact information. Obviously, if somebody lands on this page, I want them to be able to put their contact information in here and submit that to me. But I want qualified leads. If we were standing in a room right now doing this event live and I were to ask everybody, you know, raise your hand if you would rather have, raise your hand if you want 100 implant leads in your practice tomorrow. Everybody would raise their hand. And then when I said, you know, which would you rather have, 100 implant leads or 100 qualified implant leads? All the hands would stay up, because I would much rather have a qualified lead. I don't just want 100 phone calls about dental implants. I don't just want 100, you know, patients' names that have inquired about dental implants. I want to know if they're serious or not. And so the reason this survey is so important is because if I take the time to fill this thing out, put my information in there, answer a few questions, read a little bit of something, and then I click submit, now I have already invested some of my time and energy into this process. And I want to get a return on that investment. I don't want to lose that time. It's a thing that works in our psychology. So the more information you're able to get out of me on the front end, the more committed I already am to this process. And so that's why we want the survey. And then obviously we want the contact form so that we can capture their information. Okay. And then, so the very next thing that we want to do is we want to set up a Google pay-per-click ad campaign. Now, I'm not a big fan of billboards and direct mail. You know, I have found in my experience that the biggest, what am I trying to say? The most effective, you know, marketing platforms out there are digital media. You know, it's the Facebook's the new billboard. Facebook's the new, you know, TV. You'll see people sitting on the couch in front of the TV with the TV playing, and they're on their phone scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, right? So Facebook is the new magazine. It's the new billboard. It's the new yellow pages. It's the new everything. Instagram is too. I'd say those two right there are probably where the vast majority of the opportunity lies. And so I want to have a Google pay-per-click ad campaign. And basically what a Google pay-per-click ad campaign is, and you've all seen these, you go into Google and you type in dental implants, and then at the very top here is where the ads show up. And then they'll also show up here on the right side, you know, as we scroll down the page. And basically the way the pay-per-click ad works is I've got the ad up here, and every time somebody clicks on it, it charges me, let's say 99 cents or $1.29. And let's say I've got a budget of $500 a day. Well, as people click on that ad and it charges me $1 or whatever, as I approach my budget, Google moves my ad down the page. So it goes down the list here, then it comes over here and it goes down, and then ultimately winds up down here at the very bottom of the page. Okay. The reason I strongly recommend those is because a lot of people do click on those, but what a lot of people do is they'll see this ad and they'll see Elite Dental Implants, and then they'll scroll down to the 3-pack, which is what this is. This is called the local 3-pack. And then they'll see if this place here is also here, because what people have learned is that what people have learned just over time is that these are the real people I need to be paying attention to, not so much these ads. Some people will click on these, and when they click on this, we want them to land on this landing page, not your home page. We want it to take them right here to this landing page. And so I would definitely have a budget in place for your Google pay-per-click ad campaign. And then another reason why we want to have these, let me go back. Another reason why we want to have these online reviews and video testimonials is because that is the number one thing that affects your ranking in the search engine. And so if I'm waiting, the vast majority of people are not going to click on this and go to whoever's left. They're going to look at these top three. Okay. And just to give you some examples here, I don't know if this little video screen here is in the way, but just to give you some example here, this is by statistics and by percentage, this is the percentage of people that click on these top three. So you can see it decreases exponentially or almost exponentially from 1 to 2. I mean, that's a big difference. The difference between number 1 and number 2 is that 32.5% people clicked on number 1. 17%, almost half of that clicked on number 2. So this is a very, very important place to be. If you're not in that spot right there, you're missing a lot of opportunities. So I would have a third-party marketing company. I would be getting, whether through like a revenue well or a text message system that you're using to capture reviews, in Office Signage. We can have that conversation at a later time. But you need to be doing what needs to be done to get yourself at the top of this list. And if you're not on this 3 here, this ad becomes even more important. A lot of times what I would tell you is if you are in this 3-pack, you can discontinue this ad and it's not going to make that significant of a difference. It will make a difference, but it's not that significant. The other thing Google does is if you're advertising with them, they tend to favor you in this 3-pack. Okay, so that's one of the things. It's interesting how they do that. That's one of the things that's going to help you get into this top category. So we do a whole 2-day, seminar with all of our practices around the Southeast on a lot of these details, a lot of the internal marketing, external marketing, digital media strategies, and enrollment, so that they understand, what are all the variables that determine whether I'm in this 3-pack here or not. So I would tell you, just in the time that we've got here today, I would say, have a fantastic website. Have an amazing website. Have a website company that absolutely knows what they're doing. If you don't know who to look to or who does good work, contact me and I'll shoot you some options of companies that I know do great work. You also need online reviews. That's very, very important. And videography. Another one of the reasons why videos are so important is because it takes time to watch a video. So a couple of the factors that determine how you rank on Google are how many people visited your website, how long they stayed on your website, and how many times they clicked while on your website. That's what tells Google you're relevant to the search terms that person just typed in. So those are probably the most important factors. So just make sure that you're doing what you need to be doing to get in this top 3 and in that top spot right there. Because as you start to go down the list, the number of people that are going to click on your practice decreases exponentially. So you can look here at number 15, he's getting 0.4%. He's like on the 2nd or 3rd page here. He's getting 0.4% of all the traffic. Number 1 is getting 1/3 of all the traffic. He's getting 1/3 out of all the 15 dentists that Google dental implants. 1/3 of them are clicking on this guy right here first. Okay, so extremely important. Okay, care credit. This is why care credit is so important. Okay, now whether it's care credit, I'm an advocate of care credit. I believe that they are the best option out there. And the reason why why this is so important is because statistically, case acceptance on implant. Now, this is specific to implant cases. Case acceptance on implant cases is 95% when the patient already has care credit. Now, I'm not saying you present an implant case to them and then you give them an application and now they've got to apply for care credit. That your treatment acceptance is going to decrease exponentially when that happens. If they already have care credit and they are approved for the amount that they need in order to pay for this implant case, treatment acceptance is 95%. So I'm doing a call with one of my partners this afternoon on all the things that we can be doing right now while we're shut down. So everybody's familiar with the SBA program that's currently going through the House. It was unanimously passed by the Senate. It's now at the House. Should go through. I almost guarantee it goes through because there's a raise for Congress written into that bill. So, if they vote against it, then they vote not to get a raise. But the bottom line is if we're going to get this SBA money and then go back and pay our employees the last 2 weeks their full pay, and then the next 6 weeks their full pay, I don't want to pay them that money with them sitting on the couch. I want to get them into the practice, and I want them working on administrative tasks and responsibilities that are going to prepare us for the rebound, that are going to allow us to capitalize on any weaknesses or shortcomings that are currently in the practice, to prepare us, for when we come out of this, quote unquote recession. I want them working on the business since we're not working in the business. And one of the things that they can be doing is chart auditing. And by that, what I mean is they can go in, audit the charts, and identify all of the patients who are candidates for implants. Do they have partials? Are they in dentures? Are they missing teeth? Do they have bridges? Okay. And so I want them to go ahead and identify those patients so that we can potentially run some campaigns, some text message, email campaigns. We can do some marketing campaigns. I also want them to identify the patients who do not currently have care credit, so that I can send them a text message or an email through Revenue Well with a link to apply for care credit. And I would continue to do that until I would set a goal that all of my patient base has care credit. This is not only going to benefit, and I would even do that. If I'm a specialist and I've got a lot of referring GPs that are sending implants to me to do the implant placement, I'm having this conversation with them. Absolutely. Because that enrollment conversation, most 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, isn't getting dropped on the specialist side of this equation. It's getting dropped on the GP side of this equation. We never enroll the case to begin with. And so this is huge. This is a significant factor. So I would absolutely have a care credit link on the website with a little bit of information. They can click on it, and then they can go apply for that. And I would be identifying my patients in my active patient base that don't have care credit. And I would be utilizing text message and email and educational videos on Facebook, and Instagram, promoting, the importance and the awareness, and just educating them on why they need to have that benefit, that service. Okay. The next thing is retargeting ads. Okay. And this is where it starts to come full circle on your digital media. Retargeting ads are 5 times more effective than traditional ads. And you all know, some of you may be thinking, what is a retargeting ad? You already know what a retargeting ad is. You just don't know what it's called. If anybody on this call has ever gone onto Google and they've typed in, I don't know, whatever you're searching for, if you're searching for clothes or if you're searching for, recently the other day I searched for, my dryer's been broken and I travel so much I haven't had a chance to get it fixed. My heating element was out. And so I went in and I Googled for dryers, right, or dryer service repair. And if you go in and type that into Google, and then, you don't, for whatever reason, you don't take action, right? You don't click on it, you don't call them. And then you navigate away from that. And then later you find yourself on Facebook or Instagram. What happens? An ad for dryer service repair pops up. Okay. Happens every single time. That is a Facebook retargeting ad. And so basically what has happened is they've gone in and they've connected, they inserted the pixels from your website into your Facebook page. So now Facebook knows that you have most recently visited this website. And so what happens when you set this ad up is if a patient has been on your landing page for dental implants, then you're going to have a dental implant retargeting ad on Facebook and Instagram, so that now they've navigated for whatever reason let's say they didn't want to fill out the survey. They went on, they checked it out, they watched the video, and for whatever reason they didn't want to fill out. They saw you needed a survey, they didn't want to answer the question, so they navigated away from it. Okay. And then they clicked on the second one on the top 3-pack, and they went and they clicked on that, and it took them to the homepage, right? So then they clicked off of that one. They clicked on the next one. There's nothing on there about dental implants, right? So they said, all right, I'm done with this, and they move on. Then they find themselves on Facebook an hour later. Boom, your ad just pops up in front of them. It says dental implants. They click on that. It takes them right back to the landing page where you had them originally. I thought I had another. Oh yeah, I do. It takes them right back to the landing page where they were originally started. And so basically what we're trying to do is capture them while they're on the landing page, incentivize them to go to the landing page. If they navigate away from it, find themselves on social media somewhere else, we just bring them right back to the landing page. Okay. And to give you an idea of the traffic that you're getting in front of on Facebook and Instagram, over 1 billion people log into Facebook on a daily basis. 1 billion. That's a significant number. There is 725 million people in the United States. We got 1 billion people logging on to Facebook. Just to give you some perspective, we've got 75% of Facebook users are women. And at this stage in the game, fellas, we should all know that women make most of the healthcare decisions in the household, and money-related decisions in the vast majority of cases. Then we've also got Instagram, over 70 million photos uploaded on Instagram every day. Okay, so Facebook and Instagram are significant platforms that if you are not leveraging them, you absolutely need to be. If you don't have a Facebook page, don't have an Instagram page, you are missing a tremendous amount of opportunity, not just from an external marketing standpoint, but also from an internal marketing standpoint. When they click on your Facebook retargeting ad or Instagram ad, it's going to bring them right back to this landing page where they're, ultimately going to need to fill out that survey to plug that information in. Now, well, I'm not there quite yet. So it's going to bring them right back to that landing page. The other things that we need to be doing in terms of increasing awareness is you need to have in-office signage. Okay, we need to have in-office signage. Our team members need to have a practice branded t-shirts and paraphernalia, things talking about implants, asking me about dental implants, pictures of all that kind of stuff. We need to have, if you've got a TV in your reception area and that TV is on Fox News, that is wasted space. That space, that TV is serving no purpose in your practice whatsoever. Matter of fact, I would say if it's on the news, it's actually counterproductive, because news is very negative. It's very pessimistic. And it doesn't create a state we'll talk about that in a minute. It doesn't create a state that's conducive to quality, comprehensive oral health care. So I would have a educational and promotional, video loop being played on this TV at all times. If you're highlighting implants, if you're wanting to come out of the gate and really promote implants, and you're wanting to increase your implant cases over the next 30, 60, 90 days, then I would have a video loop that's specific to dental implants, for the next 30, 60, 90 days. Or you might have the dental implant component built into, a general overall office loop video that says, here's our team, here's our office, here's our technology, here's all the services that we offer. Okay, so extremely important. The other thing in terms of creating awareness, when I call your practice, and you put me on hold, okay, I shouldn't be listening to music. I should be listening to a professional voiceover that is telling me, hey, did you know that Dr. Harris does dental implants? Do you know the importance of dental implants? Did you know that, dental implants are shown to be more effective than other traditional dental procedures to replace, missing teeth? So we need to be creating a sense of awareness when they're on hold when calling the dental practice. And then also through Revenue Well or whatever text message service that you're using, we need to be sending out text messages and emails with articles and information and pictures and videos about the fact that you offer dental implants. I would also highly encourage you. There's a company that I work with here out of Nashville called High Five Marketing. And that company specializes in in-office videography. And so they got this little thing that they use called Olive. Now you can do a lot of these videos on your iPhone. I mean, you can record it and do all that kind of stuff. But what's special about this thing is it's got a built-in teleprompter, and it's got the ring light and all that kind of stuff, and it's all remote control driven. And you can have it setting in a very nice aesthetic area of your practice, and you can have a member of your team or the doctor, do a video on why we offer dental implants, or who we are, what services we offer, what technology we have, what you can expect when you come to our practice, and use that video content when you send text message and emails out. So rather than me getting a text and reading it, I'm getting a text and I'm watching a 60-second or 30-second or 90-second video. Okay, that's going to be much more effective than just sending me a text message talking about dental implants. Okay, next thing, we've got to educate. We've got to get our patients informed. And so obviously you can use those same videos I just talked about. You can text and email those out so patients can watch the video and become more educated about why dental implants are so important. For example, I can't remember when I learned this, but I remember it was like mind blowing to me when I first discovered, why a dental implant is so much more effective than a bridge. And it never occurred to me. I knew it, but it never occurred to me that, well, when you do a bridge, you could potentially be compromising two virgin adjacent teeth, and ideally you wouldn't compromise those two teeth. You would do a dental implant, preserve the longevity and the health and the integrity of the other two teeth. And so I was like, oh, wow, that makes so much sense. That never even occurred to me. As people become more educated, their value system changes. That's extremely important. As we become more educated, our value system changes. What we want, what we value shifts. And so that's the importance of education. On this TV in your reception area, you don't just want that to be creating awareness, and you don't just want it to be promoting, products and services. We also want to use it to educate. Did you know dental implants, etc.? Have you heard? Are you aware? Of these kinds of things. So we want to take that opportunity to educate them as well. The telephone system, again, when you've got me on hold, you need to be educating me. That does not need to be dead time. We want to capitalize on every opportunity we've got within that piece of real estate to create awareness, educate, and enroll. That's one of the reasons why when I look at a P&L, a profit and loss statement, there are recommended itemized there are recommended amounts for your itemized category. So for example, we recommend your payroll percentage in a general dentistry practice be between 20 and 25%, depending on whether you're doing just paychecks or if you're offering benefits as well. Your marketing should be between 2 and 4. Your lab should be between about 6 and 8, depending on whether or not you have CERAC. Your dental supply should be somewhere in the ballpark of 6 or 8, also depending on whether or not you have CERAC. Your rent or your mortgage payment should be somewhere in the ballpark of 4 to 6%. And nothing against accountants, but a lot of accountants I've found their reports that they send out on their P&L have these recommended categories on there, and they have percentages outlined on there. And I'll see payroll percentages between 28 and 32%. It's not that that's wrong. It's that those numbers, those recommendations are being based on all of the practices that they have in their network. And they took the averages, and that's where those averages come from. Okay. So it's not necessarily wrong. It just means that the practices in their network don't know how to get those itemized categories lower. And I would tell you this, we can talk about this at another time. This is part of your financial engine, but if those categories are higher than the ones that I just recommended, there is an efficiency problem inside that practice. I've got lots and lots of practices with payrolls in the 20, 21, 22% range, rent and mortgage between 3%, 4%. And the lower we are able to drive those itemized categories, the higher we're able to drive the bottom line. which is the intention of the business. So the more efficient you are, the more profitable you become. Okay, so now we're starting to position ourselves so that we're able to provide benefits, and we're able to protect the practice and the team and yourself as the business owner. So one of the things that determines, whether that piece of real estate is being fully utilized is, are we taking advantage of all of the things that are within the real estate to create awareness, educate, and enroll? So the TV in the reception area, the telephone, are we educating and enrolling and creating awareness over the phone? Language skills and customer service. Do we have educational literature within the practice that a patient can pick up and read and become educated while they're waiting to be taken back to hygiene? And then lastly is models. Having models available. I think this is a Strawman model. Having models available so that you can use and provide demonstrations to patients as to what the implant placement and the restoration, what that whole process looks like, so they understand. People are afraid of what they don't know. That is obvious right now, because the level of uncertainty in our society right now is unprecedented. And so I don't think people are scared of this virus, and I don't think they're so much scared of that as they just don't know what's going to happen next week. We don't know if this bill is going to get passed. We don't know when we're going to go back to work. People are afraid of what they don't know. They're scared of it. The unknown is uncertain, and our number one human need is certainty, confidence. So everything that we do in the practice, from the language that we use to the state that we operate from, has to be certain. People have enough uncertainty around the dentist without us adding to it. Okay. So using models to educate is extremely important. We take that opportunity to provide a demonstration for them and to walk them through what this process looks like, what they can expect, etc. Okay. Now, we've done all of this for a very specific reason. We're using our TV in our reception area. We're using the phone. We've got great language skills, customer service. We've got literature in the office. We've got, models to educate. We have ads in front of them, and then we redirect them back to the landing page. We've got information on our landing page. We've got video testimonials. We're sending them text message and emails. All of that stuff is designed specifically for this purpose. And if I were to tell you, out of all the slides in this presentation, this is probably the most important one, because it affects everything. And that is state management. Okay. What we believe about anything, what we believe about the dentist, what we believe about dental implants, what we believe about dental insurance, what we believe about technology, drastically influences the state that we operate from. Whether we are confident about our ability to do this particular implant, about our confidence in the specialist that we've referred this implant case to, that we're confident in the technology that we're using and the quality of the restoration we're able to create. That state is going to determine the action that we take, whether we choose to invest in the technology or we don't, whether we choose to go in network with this insurance plan or we don't. That action or behavior is going to affect the result that shows up. Did the patient say yes to the treatment plan? Were we able to become more efficient because now we're milling our restorations in-house, and we're able to provide same-day dentistry? Okay. Those results then in turn reinforce the belief systems that we had to begin with. So let me give you an example of what this looks like. Let's say, this should be a very common one for a lot of the folks on the call here. Let's say that patients only, that we believe, okay, and it's fair. I think this is a fair belief system, because let's face it, you only have a few thousand patients a month, a year, tell you or ask you, does my insurance cover it? Oh, well, I don't want it then. Okay, so it's not a judgment. It's not you're wrong for believing that. It is more a question of, does what you believe about this particular thing, this particular action, or this particular result, does your belief system serve you? If it does, great. That's an empowering belief system. If it doesn't, get rid of it. It's getting in your way. Okay. And so if we believe that patients only want what insurance pays for, when we're about to, let's say we're about to enroll, an implant case. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this dental insurance plan only covers 40% or 30% of this implant case. So there's less coverage. The patient's out-of-pocket portion is going to be more. And I believe patients only want what insurance will pay for. And so I ask myself the question, is insurance going to cover this? It'll cover some, but not all. That's going to affect my state. If I'm anticipating getting turned down, if I'm anticipating getting an objection, that's drastically going to affect my state than if I'm confident and certain and I'm assuming acceptance. And so what that looks like when I go to present this to the patient is I say to the patient, now insurance is only going to cover 30% of this. Insurance is only going to cover 40% of this, or you're out of dental insurance benefit. Okay. What I just did is I just turned myself down before I gave the patient an opportunity to turn me down. Okay. So the reason that we do that is it's a defense mechanism. It's a process of we're trying to protect ourselves, because it doesn't hurt as bad if I already knew you were going to turn me down than it does if I thought I went for it and I was confident you were going to say yes and you turned me down. That hurts. That's much more painful. And so what our psychology does to prevent us from experiencing that pain is it alters our language and it alters our process and behavior. So I turn myself down before I present the treatment. Now, if I were to ask you, if you have two things to talk about, one that's really important and one that's not so important, which one do you talk about first? You talk about the one that's really important. So when I go to the patient and I say, now dental insurance is not going to cover this. Let's say it's adult fluoride, right? Now insurance isn't going to cover this, or oral ID. Now insurance isn't going to cover this. I just told the patient, I'm teaching the patient that your insurance coverage is more important than the treatment that I'm about to talk about. That's what we just did. And so that's why patients come from the perspective, as soon as we offer treatment, that's why their response is, what about dental insurance? Because you didn't mention dental insurance. And every time I've ever gone to the dentist, dental insurance always came first. Okay. So we've got to be very careful about that. So if I believe that, patients only want what insurance is going to pay for, I turn myself down. I provide the objection to the patient before I present the treatment. And then the patient says, oh, well, if insurance isn't going to cover it, I don't want it. That's the result. I got to know. I told you patients only want what insurance will pay for. That's how this works. That's called a pattern. Okay. And so we've got to interrupt that pattern. We've got to change that process. That's not serving us. We've got to adopt a new belief system. And that very empowering new belief system could be, I don't care about insurance coverage. Insurance coverage doesn't dictate the quality of care that I provide my patients. And I'm going to provide my patients the absolute best. I guarantee you, if you polled every single one of your active patients and you asked your patients, do you want the best care that we have available? The answer, yes, is going to be in the 95th percentile. Everybody wants the highest quality there is. But we don't ask those questions. So when we present the treatment, they're not coming from the state of, I said I want the very best. They're coming from the state that is influenced by the question that you just asked them. Okay. So extremely important. This is the other reason why we want to make certain that we have those retargeting ads, because when a patient goes out of their way to go to Google and type in dental implants, they're doing that for a reason. They're doing that because they are in state. Okay. So I don't want, and think about it like this, for every day that passes, or every minute or hour that passes, the state that you're in depreciates. So I might be really excited and really motivated and really determined to learn about dental implants right now, but I may not be this afternoon. Okay. That's why the longer a treatment plan goes incomplete, the more difficult it becomes to reactivate and get completed. And it's because now it's not as important. This is why we're educating. This is why we're creating awareness. This is why we have models. This is why we have educational material. This is why we have the voiceover on the phone and the TV in the reception area. This is why we're posting educational and promotional material on Facebook. This is why we're using videography. It's all to create a state that says my oral health is important, dental implants are the option, and I'm ready to take action and get this thing done. Okay? That's an extremely important component. Whoop. The next step, we want to make sure that we've got the infrastructure in place. We want to make certain that we've got the infrastructure in place to meet this patient's needs. Okay, so we're going to talk about patient values in just a few minutes, but I'll go ahead and tell you what this conversation is about. Patients want three things. They want convenience, they want affordability, and they want comfort. And by comfort, what I mean is quality in the care that they receive, quality in the experience that they have, and quality in the relationship that they have. So I trust you. I have quality in the relationship that I have with the provider. Okay. So we've got to have an infrastructure in place that's designed to meet that need. That's very important. That way, when we start getting some potential objections, then we give ourselves arsenal and resources to handle those objections. John, this is why we've invested in the latest and greatest technology. This is why we go to this continuing education courses, so we're on the cutting edge. This is why we've implemented this digital workflow so that we're able to do this as conveniently, as efficiently as possible to save you time. Okay. So we've got to have the infrastructure in place. We've got to have the digital workflow. We've got to have the technology to support our ability to do immediate placement, to do same-day restorations, and provide the service as quickly, as conveniently, and as comfortably as absolutely possible. People don't want impression material in their mouth anymore. They want digital scans. They want same-day crowns. They want same-day implant placements. I don't want, especially we're talking about in the smile zone. If I'm missing anterior teeth or it affects my smile, that's very uncomfortable. It's embarrassing. People don't buy for logical reasons. They buy for emotional reasons and justify with logic. So my logic to you is I can't afford it, but the emotional reason is something completely different. Okay. And so we're going to talk about what questions to ask and what that enrollment process looks like. But we've got to have the digital workflow infrastructure in place to make sure that we can meet that need as quickly and as efficiently as absolutely possible. And again, immediate placement. And that was recall when I was putting this presentation together last night, I recall this statement here, and it says, "Lord, give me patience and give it to me right now." Right? And it's because everybody wants what they want and they want it right now. We want to be patient, but I don't want to go through the process of developing patience. I just want to push a button and now I'm patient. Okay. So we want what we want. We want it right now. People don't want to wait. When I was looking for a service to fix my dryer, I probably called 3 or 4 different places. And I got really irritated with the one that I wound up going to because I was on the phone and she was like, "All right, do you have an email that I can send your receipt to? Can you give me the postal code? Can you give me address? Can you give me this? Can you have it? Can I get a phone number? Do you have another phone number?" And she was asking me for all this information. I was like, "Could you just tell me when you're coming so you can fix this thing and I get this out of the way?" And so a couple of the ones that I called, their earliest date of service was like Friday or next Tuesday. And I was like, "Man, I really need somebody to get out here today." So I was committed to calling three different services. And the third one I called, they were able to get out the following morning. So I said, "Go ahead and sign me up." So that's what people do. They click on the ad, or they click on the top 3 local 3-pack. They go to your website, and if they don't find what they're looking for like that, they navigate away and they go to the next one. I would tell you that the only reason that number 1 in the local 3-pack is only 33% is because half the ones that show up as number 1 don't have effective websites. And that's why people navigate away from them and go to number 2 and number 3. Okay. So people want what they want, and they want it right now. We've got to have the digital infrastructure, the digital workflow. We've got to be able to do same-day restorations, and we've got to be able to do immediate placement. Very important. Everybody's heard of the golden rule, which is, treat people the way that I want to be treated. Okay. I totally believe that. Okay, that's a big part of my background in my life. So what I would also add to that is what we call the platinum rule. And the platinum rule is treat people the way that they want to be treated. So the reason that's important is because what most people do, like even when we present cases, present dentistry, we present that case in a way that makes sense to us. We present the case in a way that is filtered through my values and my beliefs and my rules. But the person that I'm presenting the case to may have different values and different rules. So I don't want to present it to them the way that I want to hear it. I've got to find out the way that they want it. And the only way that I can find out the way that they want it is to learn who they are, to ask them questions and learn who they are. And communication works through 3 channels: physiology, tonality, and words. Physiology is 55% of all communication. 55%. That is the biggest component of communication. Tonality is 38%. 38% of communication, and words are 7. Okay. This is why text messages and emails are only so effective, and it's because they only use words. This is why we also want to have information on the phone to educate and enroll, because now we've included tonality and words. And this is why we want to leverage the TV in the reception area, because now we're using physiology, tonality, and words. Each of these have a certain level of impact on affecting the emotional state. So if I'm just using words, I'm only making a 7% impact on that patient's state. If I'm using words and tonality, now I'm making a 45% impact. If I'm using all 3, now I've got 100% ability to influence that patient and create a state of awareness and urgency and interest in getting their needs met. Okay. A few things I want to cover with you here real quick. What we call modalities. The first one is visual. 65% of our society here in the United States is visual. Visual people tend to talk a little bit faster, walk a little bit faster. They use their hands a lot when they talk because pictures are worth 1,000 words. Their shoulders tend to be more back. Their head tends to be more up. They use a lot of visual voice cues, like, do you see what I'm saying? How does that look? Does it look like we're on the right track? Does this look like something that you're interested in? And we also have a little bit more of spatial proximity. So in other words, I have a bigger personal space zone. If we're close enough to see each other, we're close enough. We don't need to get any closer than that. Then you've got your auditory people. Your auditory people tend to be a little bit more monotone. Their shoulders aren't back and their shoulders aren't rolled forward. They're kind of right in the middle. Their head's not up, their head's not down. It's kind of right in the middle. They use auditory cues like, do you hear what I'm saying? How does that sound? Does it sound like we're on the right track? And they tend to breathe a little bit more in their diaphragm, where visual people tend to have short breaths more in their chest. They seem to be a little bit more energetic. And then lastly, you've got your kinesthetic people. And your kinesthetic people tend to talk a lot slower. They tend to talk a lot softer. Their voice isn't as high. Their head tends to be, down a little bit more. They tend to breathe more in their stomach. Their shoulders tend to be rolled a little bit forward. They're very sensitive to touch. They use voice cues like, do you hear what I'm saying? How does that feel? Does it feel like we're on the right track? I don't know. I need a little bit more of a concrete example. It doesn't feel right. Those are your kinesthetic people. Okay. Then you've got meta programs. Meta programs, to give you an idea of what this looks like, meta programs are basically like the EagleSoft or the Dentrix of our brain. This is the software that filters all of the information that we're exposed to, all the information that comes in. It filters that to determine, does this feel good or does this feel bad? And then it translates into our behavior. Okay. And so there are a ton of meta programs. There are a ton of meta programs. I want to say there's probably, 150. To give you some context, everybody probably knows the difference between being optimistic versus pessimistic. That's a meta program. Okay, so that would be an example of a meta program that you're probably a little bit more familiar with. The ones that we tend to leverage most in dentistry and in influence in sales are, number one, towards and away. So the number one motivating factor of all human behavior is pleasure and pain. Some people are more motivated by pleasure. Those people are your towards people. Other people are more motivated by pain. Those people are your away people. So if I want to influence a towards person, I'm going to give them positives. I'm going to give them benefits. I'm going to give them things to move toward. If I'm trying to influence an away person, I'm going to emphasize the consequences, the negatives of not taking action. Okay. And so if I'm a towards doctor and I'm trying to influence an away patient, I'm talking about all the benefits. Oh, well, it's stronger. It's going to last longer. It's going to feel better. It's more aesthetic. And the patient doesn't care about any of the stuff that I just said. All they're concerned about is the pain that they're trying to move away from. So before I can even attempt to influence them, I got to find out what pain they're trying to move away from. For example, let's say it's a missing anterior tooth. Okay, the pain that they're trying to move away from is self-consciousness, right? It's the embarrassment, it's lack of self-esteem and lack of self-confidence. That's the conversation I need to be having with them, not benefits about the dental implant. The next meta program is what we call big picture versus detail, or global versus detail. Some people are these are context specific. So I might be, pain oriented in one context and pleasure oriented in another context. So it's different from context to context. So just because I'm big picture at home, I might be very detailed at work. Okay. So it's not just across the board. You've got to know what to listen for. You've got to know what questions to ask, and you've got to have very good sensory acuity. Sensory acuity is the ability to be acutely sensitive to making small distinctions. So knowing if a person's shoulders are back or if they're rolled forward, being able to being aware enough to notice when a patient says, "Do you see what I'm saying?" instead of, "Do you hear what I'm saying?" Because those two pieces of information tell me something very different about that person. And again, I can't treat that person the way that person wants to be treated unless I first understand who that person is and how it is that they want to be treated. So that's what I'm trying to identify here, what they want and how they want it. So big picture people tend to focus, they're at like 30,000 feet. What takes them 30 seconds to tell you, it'll take a detailed person 5 minutes. Okay. So a big picture person says, "Oh, dental implants are easy. We do a scan, we drill a hole, we place the implant, we put the restoration on and get you out of here." And then a detailed person is going to say, "Oh no, it's a very complicated process. We've got to do the digital scan, make sure that the scan is effective. We've got to do all the digital design. We got to make sure that the margins are right on the restoration. We've got to digitally communicate and collaborate back and forth with the specialist." They go through all the details. So this is why this is important. If I'm a big picture doctor, okay, and I have a detailed patient, that patient's not going to trust me because I'm only giving them the surface level information. I'm not giving them the details that they need. And they're thinking he's leaving something out. There's more to this. It's not that simple. If I'm a detailed doctor and I have a big picture patient, okay, then I'm going to basically bore that patient to death, because all I need to know is when to show up, how long it's going to take, how much is it going to cost, and when I'm going to be able to, and do I need to come back? I don't need to know all the digital design and collaboration with your specialist. I don't need to know all that stuff. I don't need to know all the details to my insurance, what insurance is going to cover, what it's not. I just need to know how much do I owe you, when to show up, and how long it's going to take. And so we want to make sure that we cater our presentation to the specific needs of that patient. Then you've got process versus outcome. And I give you the easiest way to understand what this is. And this is how I learned it. Years ago, we were, when I was doing our training universities with my business partner, who happens to be my sister, we would wrap up, the second day of the training university, be on our way back home, and we would stop to get something to eat and have a drink. And I would order this 32-ounce Bud Light or Michelob Ultra, and she would order like a cocktail. And I asked her, I said, "What's the difference? Explain to me how process versus outcome works." And I had taken about 2 or 3 drinks out of my beer. Her drink was gone. So she pointed at my drink and she said, "That's process. This is outcome." And instantly I got it. Okay. So providing metaphors to educate somebody isn't a very effective educational tool as well. Taking the known, the unknown, and linking it to a known. Okay. So basically, process versus outcome means there are some people that just really enjoy the process of going through it. They enjoy coming back to each appointment. They enjoy interacting with everybody, and they enjoy, having to do the process of the insurance part of the process. They enjoy the scan part of the process. Other people just want to get the thing done. Okay. And so depending on whether they are process oriented or outcome oriented, that's going to dictate how my conversation with them unfolds and what I'm highlighting in my conversations with them. You've got sort by self and sort by others. Now, sort by self does not mean the person is selfish. What sort by self means is that they preserve their interests before they consider the interest of others. Sort by others means that they put the interest of others before their own interests. Okay. Now, to give you an example, my father is sort by self. He is sort by self. So he makes certain that he's taken care of before he worries about making sure everybody else's interests are taken care of. Now, that on the surface, that may sound selfish, but let me give you some context. When we were in school growing up, now we all had jobs and played sports and all that kind of stuff, but that money goes so far. And so my father always drove a lesser expensive vehicle than any of his children. He always made certain that his children were he took care of himself first because he made sure he had a vehicle to drive, but he had the lesser expensive vehicle. And then he made sure his children also had vehicles that they were taken care of, but he took care of himself first. He had his car taken care of before he changed his vehicle in order to be able to afford everybody else's vehicle or help them pay for their vehicle or insurance or whatever that looked like. So sort by self simply means that I've got to make sure. So as the doctor, as the provider, if you have to step away from the practice, everybody suffers. So I've got to make certain that I'm healthy. I've got to make certain that I'm able and capable and competent, and all those kinds of things in order to serve for everybody else. Okay. Whereas a sort by others person is going to put everybody else's interests. They're going to address the interests of other people before they consider their own interests, which is a lot of times puts us in a position of self-sacrifice. Okay. And then the last one is necessity versus possibility. So this is one that you deal with frequently in dentistry. Necessity people only buy when it's absolutely necessary. Possibility people are interested in all the options. They want to know everything that's available, all the options that are available. Okay. So this is drastically going to influence the conversation that I have with the patient, because if depending on what it is they need or depending on what it is they value, the conversation is more like, John, based on what you've told me and what your interests are and what your values are, I feel it's absolutely necessary that we get this taken care of as soon as possible. Okay. Whereas if this exact same patient with the same clinical need may have a different orientation here, and they may be possibility oriented. Okay. So in that scenario, my conversation is going to sound a little bit different. We can say, John, there's a lot of things that we can do here. Let's talk about what's possible and identify the option that you feel, is works best for you. Okay. So the conversation is just going to sound a little bit different. I'm going to use options and features and some of those kinds of things if a person is more possibility oriented, where if they're more necessity oriented, I'm probably talking a little bit more about consequences. Okay. Disc profile. This is a very important one. And so what I've learned is that depending on what a person's DISC profile is, and this is a personality assessment that we use to influence, that we use to lead and manage. But everybody, there are four different personality styles, and each one interacts with other people very differently. For example, your D-type personalities, these people are very direct, they're very assertive, they're decisive, they take risks, they're very task oriented, they are very extroverted, opinionated, um, and anything else, you know who I'm talking about, anything else that you could potentially put into that category. Then you've got your I-type people. Your I-type people are your bubbly, your influential, your extroverted, your people-oriented, outgoing, aloof, fun, excited, passionate, um, type people. They always have friends. They could walk into a room with 1,000 strangers and leave with 1,000 friends. Okay. These are the people that are interacting with everybody on Facebook. Okay. They're liking everybody's post, commenting on everybody's post. They've got 12,000 friends on Facebook. Doesn't matter what they post, they get 500 likes. That's your I-type people. Your dominant people are the ones that are, posting all the government stuff, all the political stuff, very politically opinionated, very, very comfortable putting themselves on the chopping block and hoping somebody makes a negative comment so I can fire back at them. Those are your D-type people. Your S-type people are introverted. They're very go with the flow. They're very steady, very stable. They like systems. They like structure. They like consistency. They like predictability. And for the love of all that's holy, don't change anything because it'll destroy them. Okay. Your S-type people are very sort by others. They don't like to be in the front of the room like your eyes. Your eyes want to be in the center of attention. Your S's don't want to be the center of attention. They want to be supporting the person that is the center of attention. They want to be in the background helping these two people. Your C-type people are your compliant by nature, your rule followers, your analyticals, your data-driven people. They like information. They like statistics. They like numbers. They like analysis. Your D-type people make great owner doctors. They tend to be entrepreneurial. They're decisive. They take risks. They make decisions very quickly. Your D-type people make very, very good owner doctors. Your I-type people make very good administrative coordinators and receptionists, the people that answer the phones. They also tend to make pretty good hygienists. Your S-type people make great dental assistants because what's their job as a dental assistant? To support the one that's doing the work, okay, to back them up. And then your C-type people are great insurance coordinators because they don't miss any of the details. They got all that stuff taken care of and they enjoy it. So not only do we use this to design teams so that people are in the positions that they're going to be most effective in, but also happiest in, okay? But it's also important to know what your patients are, because if your patient is a D-type patient and your doctor is an S-type doctor, your doctor's going to get ran over by that patient, okay? If your doctor is a D and the patient is an S, the doctor's going to have a very difficult time enrolling that patient because their communication styles are very different, okay? Very different. And there's also this thing called emotional maturity and emotional intelligence, because you can have a D with very low emotional intelligence that comes across completely different than a D with very high emotional intelligence. To give you an example of the two, Donald Trump versus Ronald Reagan. Okay, both very high D-type personalities, both on very different levels of the emotional intelligence scale. So very important component here. We want to know what the DISC profile is. We want to know where they are positioned, on this, so that it helps us better understand how to present the dentistry to them. And I'm not hating on Donald Trump, I assure you. Last one. is your values and rules questions. We have to ask some questions. So the one thing that I would tell you about influence is the mistake I see a lot of people make is they spend so much time telling. It's kind of like, you know, if I have all this information that says this is why this procedure is best, okay? The reason I believe that procedure is best is because I have all this information. You don't have the same information I have because you didn't go to dental school, you didn't go to Spear, you didn't go to Arun Garg's implant course, you don't take the curriculum. You don't know what I know, so you don't believe what I believe. But if I can teach you what I know, then you'll believe what I believe. That's the concept here. Okay. The challenge with that is these are not their answers. These are my answers. Okay. So I don't need to get, my answers will be effective. It is going to take me a long time. If you spent 10 years of your career learning, you know, why dental implants are the best option, you don't have 10 years to teach this patient everything that you know. So your answers will influence them to some extent, but what is drastically more effective is to get their answers. And what I mean by that is in order for the problem to exist, okay, the solution must also exist. Those two things came into existence simultaneously. A problem cannot exist without a solution, okay? And so if I have the information in my head that says I can't afford a dental implant, I also have the information in my head that says I can. If I have the information that says, or an experience that says dental implant's not the option, I also have something in there that says it is the best option. So those two things both exist in here. The reason that I'm not saying yes is because I'm asking myself the wrong question. I'm not asking myself the question that pulls the information that says I can. I'm asking myself a question that pulls the information that I can't. Okay. So influence is not about telling people. Influence is about asking people. We've got to ask questions. Okay. And there are 5 types of questions that I'll share with you. The first one is a probing question. Okay. And so an example of a probing question would be, what do you know about dental implants? What do you know? I don't know what you know. Tell me what you know about dental implants. Tell me what you know about, you know, dental technology. Tell me what you know about a periodontist or an oral surgeon. Tell me what you know about Straumann's digital workflow. Tell me what you know about fortune management. I need to know what you know. The reason I need to know what you know is so I also know what you don't know. Because and not only do I know what you don't know, I also know what you don't know you don't know. Because if you don't know what you don't know, then if I know what you don't know, now I know what question to ask you, whereas you don't. Think about it. If I don't know that I don't know that dental implants are the right solution, I don't know what question to ask to get that information. If I don't know what Straumann offers, I don't know what question to ask. Like my rep comes in all the time. I talk to him all the time, and he thinks that I'm going to ask him about, you know, what he has, and he thinks I already know, and he thinks that I'm going to ask him, and I think that he's going to tell me, and we never had the conversation. It happens with dentists all the time. We think that if a patient wants to know about dental implants, they'll ask us about dental implants. And they think that if I need a dental implant, you'll tell me. Or if I'm a candidate for a dental implant, you'll tell me. And so the conversation never comes up. So this is one of the reasons why we need all of the tools for awareness and education. And it's also why we need to chart, audit, and identify in advance, proactively, the patients that are candidates for implants so that we can schedule and plan and intend to have that conversation with them when they sit in the chair. So probing questions, I need to know what you know so that I also know what you don't know, and what you don't know, you don't know. Next, problem discovery questions. This is not a problem discovery question. Apparently maybe I didn't update that slide last night. I apologize about that. A problem discovery question would be, Is there anything in particular, you're all familiar with this one, is there anything in particular that's bothering you? What seems to be the problem, or what would you say you're wanting to accomplish as far as your smile is concerned, or as far as your oral health is concerned? Okay, so I'm trying to identify in the patient's mind what seems to be, what their anticipated objections could be, or what problems they feel they are attempting to overcome. So for some people, it might be cost. For some people, it might be self-esteem or self-confidence. It's going to be patient specific. So I've got to be prepared to ask problem discovery questions. What are the problems that we're trying to overcome here? Once we've identified the problems are the pain. Okay. So I want to amplify the pain, because remember, I told you the two motivating factors of human behavior are pain and pleasure. Okay. Pain is a much bigger influencing factor. Pain is much more influential on our behavior than pleasure will ever be. Okay. So if this is going to be, I don't have, 4 or 5 hours to sit and have this conversation with you. I got like 10 minutes, 15 minutes to enroll this case. So if I've got to be as efficient as possible, and every doctor I've ever talked to, efficiency is way high up on their priority list. Efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. That's what they want to be, because they get it. So efficiency isn't just in technology. It's not just in your hand speed and how you cut your preps. It's also in how you communicate. Because if you're the most efficient clinician out there, but it takes you an hour and a half to enroll an implant case, you're in trouble. Okay. So we've got to consolidate and condense. So we're not just need to be efficient in terms of our workflow and our logistics and our, and our clinical speed. We also need to be efficient in our communication, both from a patient enrollment and influence perspective, and also from a team leadership and practice ownership perspective. Okay. That's extraordinarily important. Okay. So a good pain amplification question might be, how long has this been bothering you? Is it affecting the way that you eat? Are you experiencing any pain? Does it affect you at work? Has anybody noticed? Does it affect you anywhere else? How long have you wanted to do something about this? And I would tell you this, out of these 4 types of questions, or these 5 types of questions, this is without a doubt the most important question you could possibly ask. And I would operate from this assumption. If they say no, if the patient says no, okay, the only reason they said no is because I didn't get them in state. If you're in a yes state, your activity, your action is yes, hands down, if you're in a yes state. So the only reason that I would not say yes is if I'm in a maybe state, or a possibly state, or a someday state. If I'm in a yes right now state, I say yes. So the only reason that I wasn't able to get the commitment and enroll that treatment plan is because I didn't do a good enough job getting them in state. So I would stay in this part of the process. I would stay in the pain amplification part of this process as long as possible to get them in state. And this is how you know when somebody's state changes. Remember, physiology, tonality, and words. If their words change, if their tonality changes, or if their physiology changes. If you see somebody's physiology go from this to this or to this, their state just changed. Okay. So when physiology changes, tonality changes, or words change, their state just changed. So use your sensory acuity to evaluate their state during this conversation, and continue to focus on the pain until you feel as though, or it looks as though, or it sounds as though they are in a ready to move forward state. Okay. Pleasure discovery questions and values and rules. So what is most important to you in your oral health? Everybody's answer to this question is going to be different. But what's most important to you? What do you value most in your oral health? Or what's most important to you, or what do you value most in the care that you receive in our office? Or what's most important to you, or what do you value most in the specialist that you refer your implant cases to? Okay. If I'm a specialist, I want to know that answer, because we've got to find out what people want and how they want it. So how do I know what you want? I can't assume that you want the same thing everybody else wants. right? Quality, quality implants and communication. I can't assume that maybe you want something more than that. Maybe you want digital collaboration. Maybe you don't want to have to get on the phone with him. Maybe you want to be able to do it via some digital platform like Loop. Okay. So I've got to know what you want in order to give it to you the way that you want it. Okay. And then what do you consider aesthetic? So if I ask a patient, what do you value most, or what's most important to you in your oral health? And they say, I just want my teeth to look, they're not going to come out and tell you aesthetics, and they're not going to come out and tell you function or longevity or comfort. What they are going to say is, I don't want to hurt. I don't want any pain. They're going to say, I just want my teeth to look good. But does look good look the same to everybody? It looks different to everybody. Somebody wants straight teeth. Some people want very white teeth. Some people's shade of white, is there are different levels of aesthetics there. Some people don't care so much about their the alignment and the color as they do the shape. And I'll give you a prime example of this. Everybody knows, that middle-aged dentist who's a crown and bridge bread and butter dentist, who has some crowding on his bottom anteriors, and maybe has some staining, maybe coffee stain kind of colored teeth, and he's crushing it in the dental practice, or maybe he's not. Okay. The only challenge really that he's going to run into is when he's attempting to enroll cosmetic cases. And I would say 9 times out of 10, that guy's probably not really, interested in doing a lot of cosmetics, because aesthetics isn't his highest value. His aesthetics is probably function or longevity. You've got very healthy teeth, just may not be as aesthetic based on some people's definition or rules around aesthetics. So everybody's rules around aesthetics is very different. Okay. So I can't assume that your rule for aesthetics is the same as my rule for aesthetics. And I actually had this experience with some clients of mine. I went, cause I do a lot of public speaking, and I'm in front of big crowds and groups a lot. And I was like, well, I work with all these dentists, man. I really need to, make sure I've got, really nice teeth. And I was considering, doing veneers. And I went to one of my clients. I went to 3 different clients, and I asked one client who was a middle-aged female, crown and bridge restorative practice owner. And I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing veneers. What do you think? And she said, don't you dare do veneers. And I was like, why not? And she said, because you have beautiful shape to your teeth. She's like, the shape of your teeth is perfect. You don't want to do veneers. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I never knew shape was a thing. And of course, I'm a non-clinician, non-dentist. And I was like, what does shape have to do with it? Because I was thinking like magazine, Hollywood smile, And I went to another client of mine who's a younger dentist, general restorative practice owner. And I asked him what he thought. And he says, man, you don't want to do that. He says, your teeth are healthy. They're virgin teeth. He goes, once you compromise those teeth, the integrity's been compromised forever. He goes, you don't want to do that. And I was like, okay. And then I went to another client of mine who was a middle-aged cosmetic dentist, has a cosmetic practice. And I said, what do you think? And he says, when do you want to get started? Right? So everybody's rules for aesthetics are different. It's not a right or a wrong. It's not a good or a bad. It is what it is. You're not selling your patients what you want. You're selling your patients what they want. Okay. And you're helping to educate them and helping them understand the consequences and the benefits of the decision they're making. But at the end of the day, it's their decision. Right. So our goal is just to help find out what they want and then help them get out of their own way of getting it. Okay. Number 5, and this is the second most important type of question out of these 5, are positive action questions. Positive action questions. Some people call these yes questions. Okay. And so what I mean by that is we've got to ask questions that lead the patient, give the patient some momentum, give them kind of a run and start, help them, start to build a little bit of momentum moving forward with the treatment plan. And so we want to ask things like, are you ready to do something about that? Are you ready to move forward? If you could push a button and fix that problem, would you push that button? Okay. have I answered all your questions? Not, do you have any questions? I want to ask, have I answered all your questions? Okay, because the answer to those two questions is very different. And again, language is one of the things that affects our state. Okay, so what I focus on, my physiology and the words that I use, that affects my state. So if I say yes, then the state that puts me in is a yes state. Okay. All right. Some life values really quick. People don't value little pieces of paper with pictures of dead presidents on them. People value security. They value adventure. They value success and love and connection and freedom. So the process of enrollment is about helping people connect the links between what it is they really value. Some people would associate money to security. Some people would associate money to success. Okay. The process of enrollment is about helping people connect the links between what they value emotionally, their life values, and the procedures or the services or products that we offer. Okay. Two types of dental values. So those are your life values. These are your dental values. Your clinical values are longevity, aesthetics, function, and comfort. So does it feel good? Okay, that's a big one. Digital impressions over powder impressions, big one. How long my teeth last, what my teeth look like, and how do my teeth function? Can I eat the kinds of food that I want to eat? Then you've got your relationship values. I mentioned these earlier. Convenience, affordability, and quality or trust, relationship, customer service. Okay, those are the three things that people want. So as a CEO of a dental practice, the number one thing that you ought to be considering in your business plan in general is convenience, affordability, and relationship. So how can I make the services that I offer more convenient, more affordable, and what do I need to do to build relationships with my patients? So videography, I've been harping on that this entire video. One of the reasons why this entire webinar, one of the reasons why video is so effective is because I can see you. I see how you move. I see how you talk. I hear how you talk. I see your physiology. That helps me build a relationship with you. That's why we want bios and headshots on your Facebook page, on your website. So I can go to your website and I can start building relationship with your team before I ever come to the practice. Okay. And then quality, effective communication. And then I'm going to share some strategies with you to expedite this process. Also, time and convenience. People want the phone answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if it's not a member of your team, it needs to be some other service that fields incoming phone calls. People want to be able to schedule their appointment online. People want the convenience of same-day restorative dentistry. They want the convenience of immediate placement. They want the convenience of not having to go to 10 different practices. So having the ability to get more done in one place. Affordability, we've got to have affordable options. Insurance participation is a form of affordability. Medical insurance filing is a form of affordability. And then also having like a DSP or a dental service plan is a form of affordability. And then care credit. I don't recommend that you get into in-house financing, maybe on some VIP type cases, $50,000, full mouth rehabilitation or something like that with somebody that you know. There's some strategies that you need to have in place when doing stuff like that. But I would say use care credit. Care credit is your financing option. You're in the business of doing dentistry, not in the business of financing, financing stuff. So I would say utilize care credit, leverage care credit to its fullest extent. And then, if that option is not available, then you could explore some other opportunities. But I would be very careful and I would be cautious and very strategic about how you do that if you choose to do in-house financing. Lastly, or the next thing I would tell you is be the solution. We've got to be the solution. So we've got the infrastructure in place. We've created the sense of awareness. We've given the patients, or we've educated the patients. Now we've got to What was the third one? Oh, we've got the digital workflow, the infrastructure in place. Now is the time to be the solution. So the patient's in state. We've got the infrastructure in place to meet the patient's needs. We know what the patient wants. We know how they want it. And now is the opportunity to be the solution. So there's 4 things that you can do here to set the stage for this conversation to some extent. The first one is the pre-frame, and that is to tell them basically tell them what you're about to give them. So John, we're going to do a scan here. We're going to do a CT scan that's going to show us, all of this information that we need to determine, what treatment options are going to be best for you. Then reframe, tell the patient what you just gave them. So we've reviewed all your information. We reviewed all your information, assessed your situation. I've, noted what you've told me is most important to you. And now we're going to, and this is where you move into the out frame. Now we're going to determine, what treatment options are best suited for you. And then ID frame, which is a rapport building or relationship building technique, is more or less kind of like me too. So if the patient, for example, says, or I'm sorry, reframe, I told you wrong on the reframe. That was the out frame. The reframe is taking something and putting it in a different context. So it's saying, a dental implant is kind of like, putting a screw in a board, right? Taking it out of one context and putting it in a different context so that they understand, kind of giving them a metaphor. And then the out frame is telling them what you just gave them. And then lastly, the ID frame, that is a relationship generating technique. So it helps to build rapport. So if a patient says, oh man, I love Tennessee football, I can't imagine anybody not loving Tennessee football, but this patient loves Tennessee football. The doctor's going to say, me too. I love Tennessee football too. I go to all the games. What he's not going to say, even if he's a Florida fan or an Ole Miss fan, what he's not going to say is, I hate Tennessee football. I hate Tennessee. Okay. Unfortunately, if there are any Iowa State fans, on the call, we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle with rapport. But it's a good relationship developing technique. So it is basically just saying, me too, you're in like company. We are alike. Remember, relationship is created by a sense of commonality. The more we have in common, the more rapport we have. If we have, fitness in common, then we're going to have a relationship. If we have dentistry in common, if we have technology in common, if we both like to fly planes, we both like to go fishing, the more things that we have in common, the stronger our relationship is going to be. So that's what ID frame is. It's basically just identifying that, hey, we have these 2 things in common. Okay. You can also use, this is basically another ID frame. And you guys have probably heard this before, but you can use this strategy of feel, felt, found, which is essentially saying, I know how you feel. Others have felt the same way. And what they have found is this. Or I know how you feel. I felt the same way at one point in time. And what I found is when I started prioritizing my oral health, I haven't spent anything on restorative dentistry in the last 12 years. Everything that I've done has been elective and cosmetic. Or what you might say is, I see what you're saying. So this is if the patient is kinesthetic. I see what you're saying. How would I phrase that? Or I see what that looks like, or I see what you're saying. It looks like this, and what it could look like is this, for example, if you've got a visual type patient. And then as an auditory patient, what I might say is, I see what you're saying. It sounds like this seems to be the issue. And so then you can go into the objection handling portion of the conversation, which we're about to move into. Matching and mirroring, I'm trying to be cognizant of the time here because I want to leave some time for Q&A. Matching and mirroring is another fantastic strategy. If you guys are not familiar with this, I would highly recommend that you do some research, watch some videos. You can find some information on this. But matching and mirroring is simply creating physiological commonality. You don't just match and mirror physiology. You can match and mirror physiology. You can match and mirror tonality. You can match and mirror words, facial expression. So if somebody's leaning back in their chair and you're speaking with a patient, then lean back in your chair. If they lean forward in your chair, then lean forward in your chair. You can match and mirror tonality. If they talk really fast or talk really loud, then you can match and mirror that. If they use certain words, then you can match and mirror those words. We've got a lot of digital communication systems available to us now. So another thing that you can do is you can match and mirror. You can match and mirror acronyms. You can match and mirror punctuation. You can match and mirror emojis. Some people I know can have full conversations using nothing but GIFs. So if you're one of those people, my hat's off to you. I do the same thing in a lot of cases. So with a lot of our coaches, we have conversations like that a lot with nothing but GIFs. So just match and mirror, show commonality. Let them know that you're human, that you have those things in common. And please don't let the technology replace the interaction, the personal interaction and personal touch that you have with your patients, which I see more and more of that. This process is called the 5 steps of enrollment. I'm going to go through this pretty quick. These next 2 slides pretty quick. But the 5 steps of enrollment is pretty essential and pretty simple. You've got to establish rapport first and foremost. You've got to match and mirror. You've got to talk about what's important to the patient. You've got to use the ID frame. And as you do those things, as you establish commonality and you find more things in common, then the rapport developing process is much more efficient, much quicker. Again, you don't have all day to build rapport to enroll this treatment plan. And a lot of these patients you only see about every 6 months, right? Every 3 to 6 months. So we've got to be very efficient about establishing rapport. Your I-type personalities are extremely effective at this. They do it naturally. They don't really need a system or a process. They just naturally get into rapport with people very quickly. Whereas your S-type people and your C-type people, and even your D-type people are going to struggle with it a little bit more. Okay. I would tell you that if this process takes 5 minutes, I would spend 4 minutes on number 1. Okay. So being in rapport is one of the most important components of this whole process. It's not just going to make the patient more comfortable. It's going to make you more comfortable too. The way that you can know that you are in rapport is when you're talking to them and you're matching and mirroring, if you change your physiology or you change your word and they match and mirror you. If they match and mirror you, you are now in rapport. Okay. And so I wouldn't just wait until right before the conversation to get into rapport. I would want to be getting into rapport between 6-month appointment, 6-month appointment. That's another reason why video is so important, is it helps to nurture and sustain rapport over time. So I want video on our social media. I want, information out there when we're communicating in the community and we're doing fun things and interesting things. I want to get that information out there for people to see. So the more stuff that I can put out there that shows who we are, what we're about, and what we believe, the stronger rapport that I'm going to have with patients. And I said something very important there. The biggest variables that I believe affect rapport is what I believe, what I value, what my rules are. If I believe that, I don't know, if I believe technology is the future of dentistry and you believe that too, we're going to have good rapport. If I value quality dentistry, then we're going to have good rapport. If my rule is that you put the shopping cart back when you're done and not leave it out in the middle of the parking lot, we're going to have good rapport. Okay. So if we believe and value and have the same rules, rapport is going to be much stronger. So that is absolutely one of the things that we want to include in our social media distribution, in the articles that we write, in the information that's available in the practice. That stuff needs to be consistent with what we value, what we believe, and what our rules are, who we are. That's going to attract people that value the same things, have the same rules, and believe the same things. The next thing is we've got to discover rules and values. And so we talked about this a little bit earlier. What's most important to you in the oral care that you receive? What's most important to you in your oral health? And they're not going to tell me function, longevity, comfort, or aesthetics, they're going to say, I want my teeth to look good. I want, I just want to keep my teeth for the long term. When I find out what their values and rules are, then I'm going to give them what they want the way they want it. So if I can show you, if I have an option that is available that is not only very aesthetics, one of the most aesthetic options available, but it's also gonna last a very long time, and more importantly, it's going to preserve the integrity of these two teeth adjacent to where you're missing this tooth. Okay, does that sound like an option to be interested in learning about? And the obvious answer to that's going to be, oh sure, yeah, I definitely want to learn more about that. So give them what they want. Give them what they want. Give them what they want the way they want it. I would also say that if we're doing a care credit application, and again, we spend 2 days just on this enrollment conversation, and I'm trying to give this to you in a matter of 60 minutes. So there is a lot to. There's a lot more detail to this, but I'm just trying to cover the main points of it now. So give it to them the way they want it. If this is a care credit situation where they're getting a care credit, they're doing care credit to pay for this implant case, then one thing I would absolutely do is I would, what am I trying to say? If once I find out what their rules for affordability are, let's say they've got an objection, as long as I can afford it, it works. Okay, great. John, what does affordability look like for you? Looks different to every person. What does it look like for you? And they say, oh, well, if I can keep it, if I can keep it around, $300 a month, I could probably I can make that work. Okay, great. I don't want to come back with a care credit option of $310 a month. I want to come back with a care credit option of $246 a month. I don't want to meet their expectations. I want to exceed their expectations. That's how you create a wow type experience where they're blown away. They're like, they leave and they're ecstatic. Okay. That's going to enhance the state that I need them to be in order to enroll this case and get their commitment, which is the next step. Get the commitment. Okay. We typically do this first is to get a series of yes responses. So I want to ask them a few questions. So John, do you agree we need to do something about this? Do you agree that this is the option that's going to get us, where you're wanting to be? Do you agree now's the time to do something about this? I want to ask them questions. Have I answered all your questions? I want to ask them questions that's going to lead them to say yes and get them in the state to make that commitment. And then once I've gotten them to say yes 1, 2, 3, 4 times, the very next thing that I'm going to say, okay, great. Does mornings or afternoons work better? 10 or 2, Tuesday or Thursday? I'm going to just close the gap between those two things. What I see a lot of people do is they have some good momentum going into the conversation, and then they go into this whole other conversation. It's almost as if we're uncomfortable asking for your commitment. Okay, we've got to eliminate that. We can't be uncomfortable asking for the commitment. We've got to go right into the options that are available in the schedule. And if you're block scheduling, I call it prioritization scheduling. If you're block scheduling, which I highly recommend, then you should have some options available in the next couple of weeks in order to get this case scheduled. And I would also tell you that the sooner you can get this case on the schedule, if you can start it today, start it today. Immediate placement, okay? The sooner we can get it completed, the better, because the patient's in state now. They're in state right now. So if we put that case on the schedule 2 weeks from now, and let's say it's a $4,200 case, the chances that he's in the same state 2 weeks from now is nowhere near as high than him being in the same state tomorrow. So if your goal is to prioritize and increase your implant cases, block time in your schedule specifically for implant cases. Okay, so that you can make certain you can get those on your schedule within the next couple of days. Okay, and then there are some rules around scheduling to go. There obviously, if there's nothing in that case, 12 to 24 hours, nothing in that block 12 to 24 hours in advance, then we want to put anything we can find in there. But we want to leave it open as long as absolutely possible, because that's going to maximize the available window we have to find an implant patient and put them in that block, and do it quickly. all right, before their state deteriorates. Last but not least, congratulate. We've got to make them feel good about the decision that they just made. Okay. So if you know, what I might just say is, John, I just want to tell you that, you know, I'm very pleased with the decision that you made today. I know you're going to be happy, you know, with the work that we do. And I know that this is the best option for you. And I believe that you're really going to feel good, you know, when we get this thing done. Or I might say, John, I just want to tell you how proud I am of you, of making your oral health a priority. Not a lot of patients do that. And clearly, you know, your oral health is a priority. So my hat's off to you. So just make them feel good about making the right decision. Now, no matter how effective you are with influence and enrollment, okay, you could be the world's greatest influencer, okay, you're going to encounter objections from time to time. When you encounter objections, when a patient says, well, is my insurance going to pay for it? How much is it? You know, all those kinds of things. When you encounter objections, this is very important, okay? It's a very simple process and it's very strategic. First and foremost, you have to assume acceptance. You've got to be confident. You've got to be certain. If you're not confident, the patient is never going to be confident. If you're not certain, there is no way you're giving the patient certainty. Okay. So you've got to be confident. You've got to be certain. You've got to be secure, and it's got to come through in your communication. If you're suggesting they do implants, that's very different than if you're saying this is the option based on what you've told me and based on what I know. That's what you pay me for, John, is I know the dental part. I just need to know what you need and what you want. Based on everything you told me, this is the option that's for you. It's got to be confident. It's got to be certain. You've got to be the leader. You're leading them down the path of their oral health. You're the boss. Okay. Okay. We've got to assume acceptance. And I would tell you this, if you're confident, you're going to eliminate 90% of the objections that come up. If you're confident and you're secure and you're certain, 90% plus of the objections that you would have encountered, you're not even going to encounter. Because when you're suggesting, it's like an option. But when you're telling or you're confirming or you're recommending or diagnosing, okay, that is what it is. That's not a suggestion. This is what we got to do. Okay. So very important. You've got to be confident. I would tell you that confidence sells more than any system ever will. You can throw this system out the window. You can throw this system out the window, and everything else that we've talked about, you can throw that out the window. If you're confident, you're going to enroll more implant cases, hands down. Okay. So we could have done a presentation on one step to more implant cases and just talked about that. But just, you've got to be confident. If you're not confident, find out what you need to get confident. A lot of my younger doctors who are just getting into placing implants, you know, they're wanting to kind of warm up. They're wanting to do some easy cases. They're wanting to do some mandibular, you know, posterior cases where there's plenty of bone and all this kind of stuff to kind of warm up to it, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But it takes a little time, you know, and depending on how many of those cases you can get in what period of time, that's going to slow this process down a little bit. So one thing that you could do is, rather than wait, get with a periodontist, get with an oral surgeon, get with a specialist, and have them collaborate with you through the case to teach you. Straumann has a platform out now called The Loop that gives you the ability to work hand in hand, digitally, remotely, collaborate from start to finish with the patient, with the specialist, throughout the entire case. So basically, I'm in my practice, the surgeon or the periodontist is in their practice, and we're holding hands through this entire process digitally. Okay. That's technology. That's the future. That's where we're headed. And so I'm able to do this, you know, throughout this process. So that would give me a lot of confidence and a lot of security and certainty that, hey, I can maybe venture in to do some of these cases that I traditionally wouldn't have done, you know, if you choose not to just refer it out. Let's see here. Identify the objection. Don't assume the objection is cost or insurance or any of that kind of stuff. Don't make any assumptions about what the objection is. Okay. We've got to identify the objection. So, John, tell me, what's preventing you from moving forward? What would you say the reason is that you're not ready to move forward just yet? Okay. And there's all kinds of objections. I would tell you that 80% of the objections that you get of time and money. Now there are some that are just legitimate. No way you're getting past that thing. But the vast majority of the objections that you get are time and money. And what I would tell you is that 80% of those time and money objections aren't really time and money at all. They're comfort, they're pain. They're either I'm scared, they're emotional. I'm scared. I'm not familiar enough with this, or I don't trust you enough, or I don't know enough about this process, or it's just unknown and uncertain. So, but they call it time and money. And that's why we hear time and money so often, is because it's an easy objection. We can say that, and most dental practices are like, oh, okay, it's time and money, I got to let that one go, right? What your sales experts would tell you, I know this is Chet Holmes, who's one of the world's foremost sought after sales trainers for Fortune 50, Fortune 100 companies, would tell you that the sales process hasn't even begun until you've gotten the first no. So I would rather have this conversation, which for a lot of people might be a little uncomfortable. So I would get comfortable being uncomfortable. Okay. But I would rather have this conversation now than to pacify, like the patient says, no, I'm good, I'm ready to go, but I can sense something about our conversation sounds like they're not certain, and that it's a maybe. Like I say, are you ready to move forward? And they say, yeah, I guess so. That's not a yes. Probably is not a yes. Maybe is not a yes. That's a maybe. It's a probably. It's a I think so. So I don't want to reserve time on my schedule for that, because then I run the risk of losing, a $3,500 case on my schedule for that day. So now I went from being scheduled to gold to being $3,500 below gold with one patient. Okay. I would rather do my due diligence in this conversation on the front end, touch it once rather than touch it 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Because if that patient falls off the schedule, now I'm going to have to call them on average 17 times to get that scheduled again. Okay. That's very inefficient. So this is about efficiency, digital workflow, immediate placement, efficient communication, systematized process. Okay. So we're as efficient as possible. So use your sensory acuity to assess the patient's confidence level. And if they say yes, but you don't feel yes, trust your intuition. If your intuition says no, he's not serious, he's not committed, you need to address that now, not on the back end. You need to say, John, are you absolutely certain that this is going to work for you? I get the feeling that you may have a couple of questions. Yeah, well, I am a little concerned about whether or not I'm going to be able to afford it. Okay, great. Now we know what the objection is. Okay. Now we eliminate the 17 phone calls we're going to have to make. We eliminate losing a day of being scheduled, 30, we're not going to be $3,500 below goal. But now I know the objection is affordability. So now I need to ask a new question. John, I totally get it. A lot of our patients feel the same way or have felt the same way. And what they found is that 9 times out of 10, we're able to make treatment very comfortably affordable. So John, as long as we're able to make this treatment affordable for you, are you committed to moving forward? Are you ready to move forward? Oh yeah, as long as it's affordable. Okay, great. John, the only thing I need to know is, because you're different and every patient is different, what does affordability look like for you? So now I'm just reevaluating his value and rule. And he says, oh, well, this is what affordability looks like for me. Okay, great. I don't know that I can do that, but I'm confident we'll be able to figure something out. Okay. So again, be confident, instill certainty. Okay. And then, so John, as long as we're able to make this comfortably affordable, are you ready to move forward? Yes. Now I've gotten them to say yes. Now I'm back in the process of establishing and building momentum and getting the treatment scheduled and completed. Okay. So a couple of questions for you. How important, so just some considerations. How important is the patient experience? Okay. Has patient experience ever been compromised by miscommunication between you and a specialist? And for the vast majority of people on the call, I would say that patient experience is probably extraordinarily important. That's what affects your online reputation. That's what affects your referrals. 60 to 80% of your new patients should be coming by way of referral. The average retention of patients in the average general dental practice in North America is 35%, which is terrible. Okay, we've got lots of practices that are in the 60s and 70s and 80s. We've even got practices in the 90s. Okay, and it's because patient experience. We've got to have relationship and patient experience. We've got to be able to meet their needs and exceed their expectations. That process becomes more complicated when we are interacting with specialists. Okay, because remember, the patient's values and rules are A, and beliefs are A. Your values and rules and beliefs are B. Your specialist's values and rules and beliefs are C. So the more people we add to this equation, the more complex this process becomes, and the higher the likelihood for miscommunication, and therefore a hiccup throughout the total workflow, and we fail to meet the patient's expectations, or we inconvenience the patient in some way. Okay, so the more complex this workflow is, the more difficult it becomes to control the patient experience. Okay, and so the obvious question is, if there was a way to eliminate those inconveniences, if there was a way to prevent, to control that workflow, to control the communication workflow, so that we did not risk compromising the patient experience, having them have to come back for another scan, having to redo the restoration, having an issue with the implant, being told one thing, it turns out it's something different. If we were able to eliminate that and preserve the patient experience, and I would argue efficiency, would you push that button?
Loop is a HIPAA-compliant, cloud-based communication platform. Really, it's a secure way to talk about our patients. Everything that you put in Loop stays in Loop. It never goes away. There's no, tracking down that one piece of paper. It's all housed there. So really, it's just a great tool that streamlines your everyday processes.
When you log into Loop, this is your main dashboard. On this main page, you have two main sections. The first one is notifications. I consider this your daily to-do list. Typically, all of these notifications you're going to do something with when you receive them. Over here, we have several types of notifications. The one that you're going to see the most is your new letters. You have the option to print it and or download it as a PDF if you wanted. If not, it's always housed here in Loop and you always have access to it. Both the front desk and the clinical staff know where everything is housed in this system. Even the clinical staff knows where to find the letters in the event that they encounter a general dentist or the patient has questions even. Now let's take a moment to look at what's contained in each patient's profile. This is an implant patient, and as you can see, it steps out every appointment that they had with the specialist. If you click on each step, it will allow you to view the letter from that appointment. If a scan is taken and uploaded, the box would be green. Also, if you wanted to discuss anything with the referring office, you would type that here in the patient discussion. This is like an ongoing conversation. It just allows you to document things such as, hey, this patient has a lot of anxiety. Can you just take some extra care of this patient? If the referring office is sending multiple referrals, they are housed up here. When they are finished, they move over to a tabby over here, and it's called an archived procedure.
Loop is a huge time-saving feature. With everything being housed in one spot, you don't have to go around searching for things, that you can go to the search bar, find your patient profile, and get all of the information you would need.
Now let's take a moment to look at how to refer a patient. We made this very simple for the referring office: name, date of birth, phone number, and then you would select the treatment that the patient needed. And we did build in a verification box here, so whatever you click here must match here. Down here, you'll have the option of selecting a preferred specialist at the office you're referring to. The referring office would be able to upload any x-rays that they took, add any special comments, create the referral.
This is really great because it's going to save you time. No more picking up the phone, calling, having them put you on hold. It's really great so you're able to multitask and still get the information that you need.
If you are having any technical difficulties with Loop, you can contact this phone number right here. You will reach a live person and they will be able to walk you through any of your issues.
Oh, shoot. All right. So last thing real quick is just, again, we need to create a sense of awareness. We need to educate patients, have the digital workflow infrastructure in place, enroll, be the solution, be the option, have the technology and the equipment in order to be as convenient and as efficient as and effective as absolutely possible to preserve patient experience and exceed their expectations. And then last but not least, just be willing to stay in the conversation with them to address and handle their objections. Remember to ask questions, not tell them, but ask questions so that you can truly understand. 2 ears, 1 mouth. We should be asking twice as many questions as we are talking. And then I do want to highlight the 2 organizations that helped make this presentation possible and provide a lot of support, which was Straumann and then Gwinnett Dental Implant Center over in Lilburn, Georgia, who's a client of mine, fantastic lady, Dr. Melanie Schiffer. Again, my contact information is provided here. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will be uploading this up to YouTube, so it'll be available there if you want to come back and reference it later. Any questions or anything that you have for me, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I did ask the Straumann folks that are on this call if they would be willing to drop their, I can't see it, but I asked them if they would be willing to drop their contact information and territories into the chat section of this webinar so that you can go in and look and see, depending on where you're located, you can see that and you can see who the person you need to contact is. So again, thank you guys so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Happy to field any questions and help you however I can. Until next time, I hope you guys stay safe and healthy through this COVID-19 situation that we're currently facing. And I'll leave this up for just a second because there's some people dropping their stuff in the comments now. So let me unmute everybody and see if you guys any live questions. I've got about 30 minutes available to field any questions that you guys might have. Actually, I tell you what I'll do. If I've got everyone muted, if you've got a particular question that you want me to address, either unmute yourself and feel free to ask that question, or type it into the chat box for us. Okay, great. Doesn't look like we have any. So be sure to check out the chat portion real quick. Identify whoever your Strawman rep is down there. Their contact information is available. If you miss it, again, this is going up on YouTube, so you can come back and look and get it there. But appreciate you guys tuning in. And until next time, God bless.